Pets Who Thrive Radio with Tammy King.
Hello, welcome to today's episode. I'm really excited about the brand that we're going to be talking about today, and it is called Boss Dog. And I have Henry Lamb with us. He is the Vice President of Sales. And so, Henry, tell us a little bit about you. How did you get into this? And I know you've been in the industry for quite some time.
Well, Tammy, first of all, appreciate you inviting me to be here, and thank you very much for that. So I'll give you a quick background about myself. I've been in this business for over 30 years. I really came out of college and started my own little pet store a while back. This is in the early 80s. I am 60 years old now, so that's why you could have a long history. And then quickly, I've pretty much spent 25 years of my life, almost 25 years of my life with Central Garden and Pet, one of the largest pet manufacturing distributing companies in the world. And I quickly moved on to another company that manufactured kibble and cat food for cats. So I spent about 5 years doing that, and then semi-retired, and I came back to help Basil. About 3 years ago, I joined Boss Dog. So I do have quite a bit of a background when it comes to animal nutrition, seeing all of the major brands out in the field. So I'll give you a background. So I'll give you a little bit about how Boss Dog was founded.
Absolutely.
For those listeners of yours that don't know much about our brand, and it is a fairly new brand to the market. It is 7 years old now. Boss Dog was founded by Basil Nasir. He's a serial entrepreneur, and he's best known for the company Greek Gods yogurts on the human side. So if you go to the supermarket and you see the pythons around it, that was his brand. He helped start the Greek yogurt craze in the United States a long time ago. And after decades in the human food side, he really started looking at things very differently. And when it comes to pets and nutrition on humans and animals, the same things that happen over and over again with the over processing, ingredients chosen. And he saw all of that in the mass side. And he started having some problems in resolving those issues where over and over turned out to be problems that were digestive issues that started it all with his Rhodesian Ridgeback Kelpie. That's why on all of our packaging, you will see those are Basil's own pets on that packaging. Those are his dogs and his cats. So he does have something called Boss Ranch, where he has tortoises and all kinds of animals, and he's a phenomenal lover of animals.
That's cool. Wow.
I started the brand.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. So what were some of the things that Basil saw in as far as an opportunity? Because I know you guys have some really unique angles that you take with this food. And what was it that he saw where he thought, you know what, I'm gonna create this food and it's gonna be different because...
The biggest problem he saw in a lot of the ways that we deal with some of the issues in the pet industry is hearsay and very little science behind it. And digestive health is the foundational issue that he saw, that when you have a gut that's properly functioning on a dog or a human, it changes everything. So he decided to go in from that angle. So Basil always understood that if your digestion isn't working properly, your nutrients do not get into your body properly. And he started to find that out, and he wanted to build it from the inside out. So when you start with digestive health, every issue naturally addresses itself because of all of the things that are happening in your gut microbiome. So that's how he started to do it. And what happens is, he also, because he has a Rhodesian Ridgeback, I'm sure they have large stools. So what will happen is you start feeding something like a very high quality diet product, especially raw, it naturally you get a much better cleanup that is mostly water.
Yeah.
A lot of hydration in it. So with raw foods.
Absolutely. No, I have 2 South African Borbals, and they're gigantic. And yes, I know they can create some really big bowel movements. However, I do have them on raw. So it is crazy how small they become. So
Yes,
Boss Dog, go ahead.
Yeah. I have a Rhodesian Ridgeback.
Yeah.
And as I said, I used to work with a kibble company. And obviously, when you're doing kibbles, there's a lot of fillers in it and it's dry. And the poop that was out there is very large.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Great
is.
Pyrenees like I have. So,
Yep. Definitely matters when you're a pet owner and having to pick that up. Yes. So one of the things I thought was kind of cool is just like Boss Dog. What a cool name. It has kind of a strong feel to it. Where did that come from?
Well, it's not really about like that dominance that some people feel about us. They think that it's very aggressive and dominant. It really isn't. Boss Dog, what Basil wanted to allude was like, your dog is the boss. He wanted to allude and represent a thing of confidence, leadership, and responsibility in our industry. And it's about being out there, being intentionally being out there and showing that everybody that, hey, you're the boss for your pet's health, right? I mean, they can't fight for themselves. So obviously they needed somebody like, or us, the human side, to take care of them. So they are the boss a lot of times in our family. I know my little dog is my wife's boss.
Little dogs are typically, yeah.
Correct.
That's awesome. Yeah. And what would you say are some of the things? So you said 7 years you guys have been in business?
Correct. Basil started 7 years ago. Unfortunately, he started right
at COVID. Yeah.
COVID came along. He brought frozen yogurt and goat's milk to the market. And there were a few of other things that were in the pipeline. But unfortunately, COVID shut that down for a couple of years and really hindered us quite a bit. So now we're back out there again. So
yeah. So what would you say are some of the things that have evolved since he started the brand?
The philosophy hasn't changed much. It's just kind of mature. One of the things that we did recently is what the brands that we've kind of evolved into a lifestyle brand, because most companies, when they do stuff, they only do either food or they do frozen food or they do kibble or they do something else. We've kind of evolved into a multiple segment, multiple format company. And we also have leashes, collars, harnesses, and accessories. And in the future, look forward to us building out even more for that. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, your food is raw, frozen, and freeze dried. What are some of there's so many benefits to raw and freeze-dried food, but what are some of the things that you guys focus on as some of the benefits?
Well, some of the benefits of raw, obviously, are you appeal to owners that are closer to nature approach of moisture. That's often lower when it comes to cost per servings. So that's kind of the things that we're looking to do too on that side. Freeze dried, it's an alternative shelf stable product that's very lightweight and it's ideal for traveling and busy schedules for owners that don't have the freezer space. And that's really, there's some of the reasons why we went to both sides. We do formatted to both sides. We do the freeze dried and the dry. The frozen. So
Sure. Yeah. And the cool thing about freeze dried, typically because of the way that the moisture is taken out, the integrity of the food and the nutrient profile isn't damaged. So it becomes another avenue to feed raw, but you don't have to keep it in the freezer.
Correct. It's much more stable. The rehydrate, it's when you do it in the freezer, you get a much higher concentration of moisture, obviously, usually up to 70%. When you freeze dry and you freeze it and then you put it in a barrel and you extract all of the moisture out of it, it becomes less than 5% usually. So it's very, very light. A lot of people think you're not getting a lot, but you really are getting a lot more nutrition with that freeze dried than most kibbles that are out there.
Well, speaking of that, how would you say that frozen and freeze dried is much more biologically appropriate for dogs and cats?
Well, dogs and cats. So biologically, why would I feed fresh? What it is, it's different. When you don't cook, when you have fresh ingredients or flash frozen, you have a much better, I'm sorry, I'm having some computer issues here.
It's all good.
Sorry about that. You're flash freezing the product. So when you flash freeze the products, all the enzymes are there. You don't have the same issues that you have with high heat if processing when it comes to kibble and a lot of the other foods, especially cans. It has to be going through very, very high heat to kill everything inside that can to cook it so it doesn't go bad. So that's and then the other thing is moisture. There's a few of those other things.
Yeah. No, that's great. Cats in particular are obligate carnivores. How do you target that from the company's perspective?
Well, cats are obligated carnivores. So what we do is we formulate a little bit different. What we do is we add taurine into the product. We make sure that the products, cats cannot get vitamins and a few other enzymes from vegetables. Dogs can. So what we do is we make sure that it has almost no carbohydrates in it. Very, very high protein levels, 60% plus on our stuff. If you look at our freeze drieds, and the integrity that we do when we use a process that we do. We use a very high quality, slow extraction method when it comes to pulling out moisture out of the freeze dry. And it gives this excellent mouthfeel for cats that cats will actually take to it. We also add, all of our stuff is, typically between moisture contents of 70% to 80%, which is really important for hydration for cats because they have serious urinary tract issues and so forth, as you know, and they don't like to drink water. They get most
right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We get two different types. A couple things that we actually do too is we actually put liver in it. And liver is phenomenal for vitamin A. It's very, very hard to get vitamin A to a cat. They get it from mostly meat and organs. So we make sure that it has a good amount of chicken livers or turkey livers in our formula. And that's what we do a little bit differently. So you'll see different, and a couple of things that we also do is the BC30 that's in there, and also the psyllium husk that we also use in there to help them bind with all of the hairballs that cats have over and over again. So those are things that we do a little bit differently from what we do on the dog side.
Yeah, that's a plus. No one likes the hairballs. So yeah.
Yeah, we also add large quantities of taurine into the product because they can't get taurine. So
that's good.
Taurine. So
yeah, and one of the things I think that comes up a lot when I'm talking to pet parents is they're afraid that, if I'm feeding this raw food and especially meat, how am I getting everything that my dog needs? Like, is it complete and balanced? So what are you guys, how do you address that?
We do our best to look at a praised natural diet. As you can see, all of our stuff, when it comes to cats, it's mostly poultry. So it's chicken, turkey, and then we now just started adding pork. Those are the closest things to what they like to eat. When it comes to vitamin-wise, we follow all of the AFCOs, all American AFCO solutions, that we put all the vitamins that they require to be put in, and we put those in. So, we go above and beyond that by pretty much doing what we do with the prebiotics and the probiotics. So
okay, yeah. And how do you determine your sourcing? What are some of your standards there?
Well, everything that we do when it comes to sourcing, first thing we look at, is it U.S. based? We try to work with small family farms as much as possible. We want to make sure it's all sourced here and it's traceable and it's consistent. Consistency is a big thing for us. We need to make sure every batch is identical when it comes to fats and proteins and bones and so forth. So we do all of those types of things. All of our proteins do come from the Pacific Northwest because we are based out of Seattle. All of our goat's milk comes from a family farm out of Indiana. And all of our yogurt comes out from the Central Valley in California. pretty neat stuff. We follow serious positive protocols, which means we test for pathogens at every stage of the manufacturing process, and we actually hold it for a week afterwards to make sure the quality control is there. So it's that's what we do when it comes to sourcing and how we do manufacturing.
Yeah, which is so important. Yeah, because, that's another thing that does come up is, is it safe? And, I don't want my kids to get salmonella or, whatever, be exposed to it. And so what are you guys doing to ensure safety?
There's a big misconception when it's unsafe, right? It depends on when you're dealing with things that raw meat of any sort. You might have the salmonella issue with chicken. You may have other things. You see it on the human sides too. So what we would tell you is we handle it completely safe out of the warehouse. We do HPPR product. So it really kills 99% of the bad pathogens that are out there. And then we reintroduce vitamin pack right into it after we manufacture the product. And it's not complicated if they just follow the directions and just put the product out, defrost it first in the refrigerator in the temperature that's correct in the covered container. They should not have any issues with salmonella. Dogs and cats their stomach acid is much stronger than ours, as you know.
Yes.
They can handle some of the bacteria that we as humans cannot. My suggestion is take one patty out while it's frozen, put it in a container overnight, let it come up to room temperature afterwards when you're about to feed. That's some of the problems that people always have when they're switching over. They think it's just, just throw a raw patty right onto the bowl and just let it sit there until it defrosts and let the dog lick it while it's frozen. That's not a really nice way to do it. So,
Yeah. So one of the things that you talked about in the beginning of the call is that gut health was one of the inspirations for this brand. I know you guys use BC30, which is a specific strain of Bacillus coagulans. Why did you choose BC30 over another probiotic?
Well, why we chose BC30? BC30 is really a unique probiotic. It is one of the few that are used in humans. It is considered one of the most. It's considered one of the strains that's very beneficial, not only just for humans but also for dogs and cats. There are different strains inside the stomach and the gut that are different. There are a couple of strains that are unique to dogs and cats that we don't have, but Bacillus coagulus is something that both of us have. It does a lot of things that are quite different compared to most of the different probiotics out there. Why we chose it is, one, because it can survive the heat. It can survive heat. It can survive acid. And Bacillus coagulus is just a very well-known beneficial bacteria out there. And they're finding out every day, they're finding different strains nowadays where they don't even know what they do yet. So there are some that are proven to be bad. Some are proven to be good. Bacillus coagulus is the most studied strain. And what happened is Ganeden, which is the pharmaceutical company that owns the patent to BC30, found a way to put a natural protein shell around it. One of the big things with BC30 that is so unique, it actually helps in so many different ways. It is one of the few strains out there that actually, once it gets into the system, it can actually release enzymes that actually help with protein absorption. So it's very unique, and it actually gets passed through the stomach acid. That's what makes Bacillus coagulus so unique. So
interesting. And there was a study done with that, right?
Correct. There are studies done on the human side. What makes it cool and different and unique too is the fact that there are actual studies done on the human side. So you can actually see what it actually does. And you can actually go out and buy the product. It's in over 100 human food manufacturers now that you can actually go out there and buy the product, try it yourself, and then you can kind of see, oh, wow, I feel the difference. This is what they're trying to do. They understand. A lot of times dogs will have bloating and abdominal discomfort when they're switching foods. This is one of the things that helps tremendously. It stops the bloating instantly and abdominal discomfort. You can try it yourself. Like I said, it's one of the few things you can.
Yeah. So what have you seen in general? And I know you mentioned the bloating, but in general, what have you seen are some of the things that help dogs digestively with the BC30?
Some of the things that we see and some of the things that we see, that question, some of the things that we've seen different things. We see customers tell us all the time that when their dog has, they thought maybe protein issues, their dog may have thought about, hey, their dog was scratching, they have skin issues, and automatically what we do is we give you a drug to stop the symptom.
Right.
That's what we do. And a lot of times what we don't understand, how we're trying to solve it is through the gut first, because we understand 70 to 90% of your gut is what controls how your immune system works. So if you can get the gut to function properly by doing all the things that we are trying to do, you can get much further ahead. And that's some of the things that we hear back from our customers is, hey, I thought my dog had a XYZ protein allergy against beef or something. And it turned out it actually wasn't. It was because the gut was unhealthy. It did not have the right probiotics and right strains in the gut to help absorb the protein and some of the other items that went with that food. So we get a lot of those things back from our customers that compliment us on how they thought it was something else and it turned out to be just fix the gut.
Yeah.
And that really works for us too, Tammy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's so true. The gut is such an integral part of our immune system. And so many times my dog has allergies, they're scratching themselves to death and licking their paws or yucky ears. There's so many things that can happen. And immediately, you're right, we run to the vet, we get a medication that suppresses it, but we're not fixing it. And the gut is, once we start nourishing the gut and healing the gut, things just start working out. And it's crazy, but I've seen it time and time again.
But why a lot of people don't understand is they are taking huge amounts of whatever medication that they're taking. They give it to their dogs. Let's say your dog got a cut on the leg and now the vet goes, okay, let's just put some antibiotic cream on it, or they give them an antibiotic. What they don't understand is that antibiotic goes into the system. The antibiotic doesn't see the difference in the gut, whether it's a good or bad bacteria. It disrupts it. And once it disrupts, kills it, that's when your dog actually has a lot of the issues and problems that you think they have, but they don't actually have.
Yeah.
So you can just get the gut going properly with the raw foods that you're selling in your stores and the right mixture of raw food. You know, you give our products are 80-20. So you have 80% proteins and fats and 20% good green vegetables, very little starch in it. That's pretty much a recipe for success, because I myself, I think I told you, I showed you a picture of myself to you, Tammy, a few years ago when I had COVID. You know, when I was retired, I was rather large. I literally almost followed the same protocol that we manufacture our foods with. I mean, if you look at my diet, it's mostly just beef and vegetables, and everything that you see in our formulas is kind of my diet now. And I went from diabetic, multiple health issues, 300 pounds to where I am now. And I really thank Basil for showing me, hey, this is what we can do for animals too. And that's why I joined the board and helped him spread the message and the gospel to everybody out there that you can observe.
Well, and you face a really traumatic health crisis too. And Bacillus coagulans was such a huge role in helping you become well.
Yes, it is a pretty unique product. And what we do too is we not only put in Bacillus coagulus in many foods have Bacillus coagulus in it. Obviously, you know in your store you have other brands that have it in kibble also. The big difference is our probiotic is encapsulated. There's a huge difference. Most people don't understand that your dog's stomach acid or your cat's stomach acid is anywhere between 1 to 2. Ours a bit higher. It's very acidic. And unfortunately, probiotic, if you take it orally, is just a bacteria. So once it enters, they're very, very short intestinal tract into their stomach, the stomach burns it up rather quickly. So it kills most foreign objects that are being entered orally to the, and Bacillus coagulus, BC30, being encapsulated will actually 100% make it through that stomach acid. It is very, very unique. It's so strong that you can actually buy any tea in the supermarket on the human side that says probiotics on it. It'd be Bigelow Twining or anybody else, just Celestial Seasoning. They all use BC30 because it's the only one that can actually be put in boiling water or hot tea. It's that unusual. Unfortunately, most people haven't used it in the pet industry much because it is very, very expensive because it actually works. So one of the things that makes it work so unique that I love to tell people is there are multiple studies on the human side that says, hey, it helps humans absorb protein by 30% better.
That's amazing.
I couldn't claim that before. Last year, Canadian finished a study, and it actually says it does the same thing for them also. So why that is so unique and why I think it is it's a huge thing for the pet industry is because most of our food, believe it or not, Pedigree and Old Boy and those guys, they still dominate the majority of pet food out there. So if you look at the kibbles that are bought in the mass side, most of it will be corn, soy, animal byproduct if you're lucky. Sometimes they use very inexpensive plant protein. And plant protein, is not very bioavailable to either us or them. It's very, very hard for the body to absorb. So when you have animal protein and you have so little of it already in some of these lower cost brands, if you can just take some raw that has BC30 like ours and put it as a topper, or if you can just put a little bit at a time and just mix it together and switch them over, even better. But it helps the older dogs and the dogs that have lower protein foods. It helps them absorb what little protein is in the food that they're giving them. So that has been an incredible thing that we hear back from our consumers all the time. Thank you for that. I also take it because at my age, every little bit of protein absorption helps because, once you get past 30 years old, you just don't absorb protein quite the same way. And it's the same with our canine and feline friends.
Sure. No, that's amazing, especially, some of those older dogs and, they're just not getting enough of the good stuff to keep them mobile and all of that. So one of the things too that I was wanting to ask is, some people are probably listening going, wow, this sounds great. I want to add this into my dog's food, or I want to switch over. What are some of the best, practices around switching to something like Boss Dog if they're feeding, say, a kibble?
Well, when you're transitioning over to Boss Dog, or any raw foods, if you read any of the directions on all the websites from all of the raw guys, they all tell you to go very, very slow, as little as possible. The way that I tell people to do it is to go just put first week. I have a little schedule that I have. The first day, I usually like to tell people if you're doing a new raw food, you're switching over to any frozen food, even ours, is the first 1 to 3 days, maybe put 25 to 20%, to 5% of the new Boss Dog food in there, and then put some of your old kibble in there. And then wait till the 4th or 5th day, and then start with 50%. And then after your 10th day, you can do 75%. And after 15 days or 2 weeks, 14 days, you can do 100% raw or frozen. And that usually gives you a nice transitional schedule, and you shouldn't have any problems. But what we did is we actually put in quite a few things that helps you even when you don't follow the schedule, as most manufacturers recommend, to keep and help you from having the throw up, the diarrhea when you don't follow the directions. We all know, Tammy, a lot of times, our food, our dog, our friend just stops eating, and he's between 7 to 9 years old and he stops eating. So what does the average consumer do? They go online and they type and it says, what does the internet say? And usually says, hey, go find them some raw or gently cooked or something fresh. Put it on top of their own food and let's hope they eat. And if they're lucky, they get to see someone like you or your staff who very well educated, understand that, hey, you can't do that overnight, just flip overnight, just give them a raw ball of chicken guts, it just, they'll have diarrhea when they're a domestic animal. So what we do is we inject something called PC30 in the right quantities as the probiotic. Every cup of our product or patty in the frozen world has 500 CFUs and 500 million CFUs. And that's colonizing forming units. Those are guaranteed to have a minimum of 500 in there. But between that and us injecting inulin mixed with flaxseed powder, it actually coats the small intestine and actually gives them a fighting chance when they don't even. Our whole food was designed to transition to raw. So if you don't follow the directions, it will. I'm not telling you if you give them more food overnight, just nothing but raw, they won't have an issue or throw up, because every animal and every person is different. But it minimalizes that problem and maximizes the effect of the raw nutrition having so much hydration in it and the nutrients being live that it helps that animal regardless. So that's what we do differently than most.
Yeah.
It's our probiotic and prebiotic in the right levels and right quantities.
Yes. And I always, I try to let customers know I always err on the side of caution. So if you can start slow and work your way up, that's always best. But sometimes the dog has just stopped eating the old food and wants to go for that. So it's good to know that there is that extra probiotic in there to help with the digestion.
Correct. And a lot of things too, when you're switching over to raw, temperature does matter. One of the things I find a lot, which I deal with many people across the country, I find with consumers is they'll literally take some nuggets or patty, like I said earlier, and just throw it in a pan, and they'll throw it on the floor while it's frozen and just hope that whenever it's defrosted, the dog will eat it. You don't want to do that when you first transition your dog over. Temperature does matter. You want to serve the food at room temperature or slightly warm the first time, because when you're switching over to raw like that and you're giving an extreme cold food, and let's just say he swallows a nugget and it's completely frozen, it can irritate and upset the digestive tract, and then your finicky eater won't eat it again, or they'll have issues. So our whole formula and our whole company is based on the fact that we welcome you to transition from one protein or one formula to another. We have 6 different formulas, and it gives you confidence that you're not going to have that issue, even if you don't follow our directions to the T.
Sure. And that was the next thing I was going to ask, is if you could kind of go through a little bit of your formulas, both for dog and cat, so that people are aware of what you have before we go into some of the Boss Dog accessories.
So we manufacture 6 different flavors or proteins when it comes to dogs. It comes in a freeze-dried and a also frozen. What we do is we take our nuggets and we send it to the freeze-drying machine, and it extracts all the moisture out of it. And then there's your freeze-dried. It comes in 2 sizes. But I'll stay with the frozen for now. It comes in a 3-pound nugget, so you can put top on your toppers. It also comes in a 6-pound patty. Our formulas are turkey, chicken, fish, New Zealand sourced lamb, beef, and pork. So those are our 6 flavors in our formulas. Like I said, all of our stuff is 80-20 mix, right around there. And our one thing that makes us really unique too, compared to our competitor, is because we really positioned our products to be able to transition over from one flavor to another protein without having issues. We flat priced everything across the board. So when you buy our products, it's the same price, whether you're buying a bag of chicken or a bag of beef. That way, it doesn't scare the consumer into switching different proteins. A lot of times people stick with one because they're so used to that price, and I don't want to pay extra for beef. And so, guys, the beef market's gone through the roof lately.
Of course,
right?
yes.
So what we've done is we've kept the line and kept everything flat because we really believe the only way you're not going to get a protein allergy, and that's the big thing you know in the last 10, 15 years, that's all we talked about is protein allergies. How you get a protein allergy is you keep feeding the dog chicken for its whole life, 3 meals a day, every day.
That's right.
You know that, but a lot of consumers don't, right? So the best way to do is to be able to go from one formula to another formula without issues. And a lot of people are afraid that their dog will get diarrhea or throw up and to it. And that's why the BC30 is in there to help with that also. It is very unique. So
good. And what about your cat food? It's a very unique line too.
our cat food is pretty unique. What we do is we grind it and we fill it to the top. And if you look at the way we do ours, we grind it a little bit more like a mousse. So, the frozen side, there's 2 sides, 1 cup. It is it's filled with moisture. It's about 80% moisture, which is great for cats. We have 2 right now on the frozen side and 3 on the freeze-dried side. The one that we have added on the freeze-dried side is pork. So pork, believe it or not, is one of the most popular ones when you get a cat that doesn't like to eat freeze-dried or raw. Try pork first. That's probably one of the best ways to coax your cat into eating raw fillets.
Yeah, I know it's a unique protein to think of for cats, but it really is super palatable. So, and that's the other question I have. You know, a lot of pet parents are worried because their cats are so finicky. What do you find as far as palatability on your cat food?
We have a 80% palatability, which is pretty high. Our formula is very close to I won't say anything, but most cat people that have been out there in the past, and there was another brand that was very, very popular, but they had moved on. It's about as close to that formula as you can get. It's extremely, extremely palatable to the point where we offer you 100% guarantee if your cat won't eat it, we'll take it back. So,
sure. Yeah. Yep. No, that's awesome. That's good that you guys have that option. Can you talk a little bit about maybe some of your yogurts, your goat milk, just kind of some of the philosophy behind those as well?
Well, our yogurt, there's 4 different flavors of our yogurts. It comes in a 4-pack also. So you can buy it both ways. The yogurts are filled with lactobacillus and the normal vegetative probiotics that you would get in dairy and milk and so forth. So that's what we do there. It used to say human plants, but it costs a lot of money to have that stamp there. So we decided not to use that. But it is if you open it up, it's extremely human grade quality. So that's what we do there. Basil always believed that, Greek yogurt is extremely important, not only for humans, but also for the dog's gut. So that's how the yogurt got started. There's a lot of things we do with the yogurt, from coupons to so forth, to support retailers and independents, and also customers at the level that if they really wanted to try the product, you can actually have the opportunity to let them try it. We also have a beautiful promotional old school tripe that we bring out. We do demos around, give people ice cream on certain days and different events and different retailers like that. The other thing that we do is we do goat's milk, like we were talking about earlier. A couple of things about our goat's milk that's pretty unique. We used to get our goat's milk out of California, as you know, we talked about it. We now moved all of our stuff to a small family farm in Indiana. One of the things that makes it so unique is the farm is certified humane. So that's a big thing for us. The other thing that makes it pretty cool for us is we still use the same organic ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon that's in for inflammation, that's in all of the goat's milks that are out there. But we do a couple of things that are pretty unique, that is different than most of our competitors. A couple of things. One of the things that we do is we add a cold press Alaskan salmon oil in there that really helps with the coats and eye and skin and so forth. Most people that understand nutrition know that. But one thing that they never see is actually when your animal, goat's milk is used to rehydrate, either freeze-dried or a lot of times to jumpstart the appetite of a sick animal. That little bit of fish oil in there believe it or not, when a dog or their cat's not feeling well, that really attracts them to eat. So it's pretty important that you have that in there on top of the reasons why we talked about earlier. The last thing that we do differently than almost everybody out there is we have a BPA-free bottle that's chemical resistant. The reason for that is most bottles that you see out there were never really designed to be frozen. They're just average supermarket juice bottles. And what happens is the consumers are really concerned with the microplastics of temporal fluctuations of microplastics winding it back up into the plastic. Well, they're also afraid of the BPA winding back into the fluid. That's why you see this huge trend of people drinking out of glass bottles and metal cups and so forth. Is you hear people say all the time, don't put a water bottle in the car and heat it up to 1,000 degrees and drink the water out of it because you may get some BPA in there. So we use a completely BPA-free bottle. The reason why we use such a high-quality bottle is because we also use taurine. The reason why we add taurine in there, taurine is essential for cats. They can't produce it by themselves. Dogs can produce a small amount by themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of the cat feeds, especially the kibbles and the cheaper ones out there, are filled with carbohydrates. And that's why you see so many cats that are diabetic now, because they just can't handle it. They don't have the amylase in their saliva to break down the carbohydrates. So we do add a good amount of taurine in there for cats, and also to support all those people that still talk about DCM with their dogs and the heart. That's why we have those things in there. And taurine has an ability to break down petroleum products and leach some of the stuff right back into the fluid. And that's why we use very high quality bottle.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Very good. So you've got an amazing lineup. I know one of the other things that's unique is you have a powdered goat milk.
Correct.
And how would you suggest using that?
The powdered goat's milk is really unique in the sense the value that it brings. We are different than our competitors. Some of our competitors only use the freeze-dried way of they just freeze-dry the goat's milk and throw it in a bag and that's it. We don't do that. We actually blend our product. We don't believe in just only using the goat's milk because it does have lactobacillus and a few other things and a few other strains in there, and it's filled with probiotics. But if you don't have the right food for the probiotics starting right up front, it's not going to be able to attach and bloom as quickly as we'd like. And that's why we put inulin into the product. We also add taurine into the product, and also the exact same stuff we put inside of our frozen product, which is organic ginger, turmeric, and cinnamon, into the package. Each one of those makes about 4 different bottles. One of the best ways that people use it is they just sprinkle a little bit on top of the dog feed, the kibble that they have now. And if they're traveling, just put a little bit of water and you're ready to go. Every little bit helps, and that's what it's used for.
Yeah, a little way to, create a lot more nutrition just by sprinkling it on top of maybe some dry food. So the other thing I wanted you to touch on is that you guys have a whole line of collars, leads, harnesses, and accessories. What made you guys decide to go that direction with the company?
Well, we'll always believe that nutrition also has to go along with exercise. So what better way to give them good nutrition and also give them the proper gear, to go right along with one another to become a lifestyle solution company. And that's basically what we've done. We've come up with gear that's used in the professional world. The gear that we use is used by law enforcement and military type of gear. The average consumer sees that. They want that. You see this whole trend now with mini pugs and mini bulldogs and so forth, and they really value that rugged look. The other thing that we do differently too is we heard from the consumer out there over and over again, they would like to have a collar with a handle on it. So there's a couple of innovations that we've done as we put a collar with the handle on it. All of our stuff has a lifetime warranty. We use mil-spec nylon, but we make it in a way that it's affordable. It's not The government pays $200 for a collar, $300 for a collar because they're using our tax money. We make it very reasonable, lifetime warranty. There's a lot of innovation in it, from the zinc oxide buckles that we use to the clip that uses aviation aluminum that can hold 1,600 pounds of pressure. It's very, very affordable compared to the stuff that's used in the pro world, but you get all the same quality. That's pretty much why we decided to go both sides with Tactical, which is our line of collars and leashes.
No, and they are.
Do both, have nutrition and great gear.
No, it's true. And they, the buckle is, and like, there's certain collars that you think, gosh, if the dog pulled too hard, the buckle's going to come apart. You definitely don't feel that way with the Boss Dog buckle.
Yeah, our buckle is a true dual barrel zinc oxide buckle. A lot of our competitors that have copied us have pretty much gone to just cheap tin and a piece of rubber in there in between. So it may look the same when you see some of the more inexpensive stuff that may be offered out there. But I guarantee you nobody would give you a lifetime warranty on that or stand behind their products like we do.
Yeah. So. Well, and just so you guys know, anyone who's local to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we are bringing in the nutrition line, and we do have the accessories already in stock, and we use those a lot on our own dogs. So that they last. It's good stuff.
I saw that on your post there with the pink camouflage on your baby.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. So
what do you think that? How do you see the raw market and some of the things that are needed out there? Some of the things that may need to be improved by some of the manufacturers and so forth. Are there any things that you see that we can do better or come up with better?
I think in general, there's a lot of beliefs that are, I guess, myths about raw food. So the more we can help bring that, that kind of bridge that gap of what people need to know about raw food and how safe it is and how much species appropriate it is. A lot of the message out there is always good. And, and then of course, new things, new proteins, using nature as much as possible to make it complete and balanced. So yeah, I think those are some of the things that pop in my mind.
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the biggest hurdles that we have to overcome is the feeding of the raw. I think the general public is still sometimes don't understand it. They have a misconception that raw meat will make their pets or their owners sick. But they really don't understand that actually there's more contamination. Now, if you look on the human side, you hear it every day, E. coli here. So if you just, realistically, if you just manage, proper hygiene, wash your hands, sanitize the area with the Kleenex wipe, it's safe for everybody. You should be doing that anyway, regardless if it's raw.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The other misconception I get all the time is, hey, if I feed, I don't know if you hear it all the time. I'm sure you do. If, raw meat, a lot of the vets will tell them it's very nutritionally unbalanced.
Of course.
Vets will say that. And I just don't see it because if you look at most of the brands that are out there, manufacturers, we all use very high quality products, right? We don't use any of the B's and the ultra levels of all compared to some chemical companies.
Right. I know.
That kind of stuff. We don't use it in our industry, in our side of the upper echelon. And, we tell people all the time, it says that we use pretty much 80-10-10, a lot of times bone, meat, and organs. And we grind it all. It's very sanitary. It doesn't miss any of the vitamins, actually. When you grind a lot of bone and they can absorb the bone when it's fresh, once you cook the bone, it becomes dense and it can splinter. When you take a raw bone, you grind it, it really just goes right in their system and they can use that extra amount of minerals and vitamins that come from it.
Sure.
For me, I seem to always argue with people about, it doesn't make your dog more aggressive.
Oh, right.
Or bloodthirsty. These are some of the things that they answer all the time when people ask me, they'll say when I'm at a trade show or something, does it do this to your dog? And we got to somehow stomp these myths.
I know. Yes. There's definitely some information that maybe we could arm people with. But yeah, the two things I hear the most, like with a customer maybe that's trying to either start raw or maybe has talked to their vet about it, is the vet's pushback is it's not complete and balanced and it's covered in bacteria. And I think, I just have to assume that hopefully what the vet's perception is that they're thinking about that chicken thigh that you're getting at the grocery store, not necessarily a company that is dedicated to creating a safe, complete and balanced product. So I think there's also a misconception on when you say raw, what does that mean? And so, so there can be. So we do have to address that quite a bit at my store. Yeah. For sure.
I think at the business level wise, our biggest problem, I think, is you get a constant pushback when you're telling somebody to go raw from a big bag of giant kibble. It's expensive. Oh my God, it's so expensive. I bought this giant, 40-pound kibble for $20. I mean, I'm always like talking to people about that and like, how much poop do you pick up every day out in the backyard?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the ingredients, if it's 40 pounds and it's $20, think about that.
Exactly.
By the time it goes from the retailer to distributor to the manufacturer, or you're really just getting like $4 of the corn in the bag.
Exactly. Yes, I know. I know.
And so just constantly just trying to argue with them about that and how much nutrition your dog gets from just eating raw and how much comes out. Very little comes back out. And my dog literally eats one patty and some treats of the day. He's perfectly healthy. My vet's shocked sometimes because I listen to her about feeding science diet to my dogs or working. So,
Exactly. Yes. And that's the other thing, is that not only is it more palatable, but it gives them so much more, smart energy, better teeth, better breath, much less poop, because they're using the actual food for nutrition rather than a lot of those added ingredients that aren't serving any purpose except to fill the bag. So there is a lot of stuff out there. I wish we could just, snap our fingers and change the mindset. But I think it's a good place though for people to know that you can just start slow, even if you're a little bit afraid and you're not, you just want to tip your toe in the water. That's okay. You can start with a little bit of goat's milk. You can start with, some toppers, some treats, things that, are going to, and especially with your food, with the BC30, it's going to make it a little easier to transition to.
Yeah. It was designed to help you transition from kibble to raw as minimal as possible.
Absolutely.
Possible.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible that a lot of times to this day, one of the frustrations we have is trying to convince people and explain to them what a probiotic is. And that people like yourselves who have a nutrition background that actually runs stores, there aren't enough of you out there. We need more of you guys out there that understand nutrition. With other Joe Blow down the street selling bags and bags of corn to people.
Right. Exactly. And I think one of the things too, just kind of wrapping this conversation up, is that, just like with us, when we eat a high carb, highly processed diet, there are so many things that can happen. Inflammation, we feel yucky, we gain weight, we're just sluggish. We're not vital, we're surviving. And that's the same thing with our dogs. We're feeding them real food. And that's the thing that I think sometimes it gets lost in the message, is that, if I'm only feeding them out of the bag of like a dry kibble, then that's what they need. And it really is highly processed.
It is very. I worked for companies that made kibble. So I've seen how kibble goes and how they make it out of the extruder. So it is very processed, very hot. A lot of the vitamins, by the time you have to think about it, it comes out of the extruder. They sprinkle whatever vitamins on top. It sits in a warehouse that's could be in Texas heat, it's 130 degrees, sits on for about a month, or however many times they have to hold it for. And then it goes onto a trailer, and then it goes to whatever warehouse throughout the country, 5 days, 10 days.
Exactly.
And then it sits in another warehouse and a distributor somewhere. And then it sits again, should go truck, and then it comes into a retailer. And then by the time it's been through many steps that most people don't see. Whereas frozen, pretty much frozen, it stays in that same consistent form all the way to you, because it's handled that way. And that's why, there are so many benefits to people switching their senior dogs or their allergy prone dogs, or starting off right off the bat, which is the hardest thing to do, is get people to understand, start them off right at puppies at a young age, just sets off the right foundation to where all the other diseases are held back, but we have a good health with the gut microbiome. So, especially with senior foods, a lot of people are really afraid of switching a senior pet to all. And they don't understand. Yes, they may get diarrhea because you feed them too much too quickly. Their digestive system not quite ready for it yet, or they give them too much protein or too much fats, and they get the diarrhea. That's why ours is done perfect. I mean, it's about as perfect as you can get in the sense of just the first time switching an animal. Especially with seniors, as we talked about earlier, with that absorption of protein. It's an incredible, you'll see your pet wake up. I have a 13-year-old dog that before she ate kibble pretty much most of my life, because my ex-wife liked to feed kibble while I was gone. So it was easy. I get it. But this dog, when we switched over to the Boss Dog diet, you could see he was very gray, started to clear up. She started getting bounce. I fed a little less. The dog went from almost 30 pounds to 20 within a short amount of time. Now she has pep in her step and she's running around. So, well, I told my wife, you pick up a lot less food.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so true. And we have those just over and over success stories once people are willing to give it a try and see what a difference it can make. So so that's a really good way, I think, to kind of end on that note. If people are trying to find you guys, how can they find you?
All of our frequently asked questions, all of our products you want to look at and look at the specs and everything else, you can find us on bossdogbrand.com.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Look it up. All the info is there. If you have any frequently asked questions, page should answer most of your questions. You can always get a hold of somebody like Tammy at their store, or myself. We answer the phone. We're a very small, tight-knit group of people, so we do answer the phone all the time. You have customers that have issues, we resolve it for you just like that. So,
okay. We appreciate that. Thank you guys for all that you do for helping more dogs and cats get healthy. So,
vice versa. Thank you. You guys bring all the nutrition. You are the influencer in that market, and I hope you influence a lot more people to go to more nutritious foods like the stuff that you have inside your store.
Absolutely.
So bringing that to the market for all of us.
Of course. Well, Henry, thank you so much for your time. This has been such valuable information, and I know a lot of people are going to learn a lot from it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Pets Who Thrive Radio with Tammy King.